Hello and welcome to this video. Now, in our previous videos, we have looked at how to create pivot tables and create some simple pivot charts from our Excel tables. So here we're going to go further to create a more complex pivot tables and try to derive some insights across various data points from our data. This is sales data for 2014 for a certain store, and we're going to try and build a few reports out of it, and we'll look a bit at formatting these reports, formatting these our pivot tables and our pivot charts, which we didn't really look at in the previous videos. And then we'll try and look at a few calculations that are possible using your pivot tables. So now the first thing to do is to inspect your table. Remember, I said that it should be in a tabular format, so you have your headers and then it is describing what is in each of the columns, and then you should not have any blank rows or columns anywhere within your data. So now, just clicking anywhere in the pivot table, I come and I click on insert. I want to insert a pivot table, and then you see Excel selects the range for me. This is till 68, which is correct. Do I want to put it on a new sheet or on the existing worksheet? I want it on a new sheet, and I click OK. And now we are in the pivot table part. So let's without wasting any time, let's quickly build let's say we want to look at the sales by each rep. So we have different reps, sales representatives in our store. So we want to see who is making more sales. So let's get that, get the salesperson revenue. I put the revenue in our values, and then we want to see it by each salesperson. So the salesperson, you come and put it in your row. Now you can see that we have but it's not really formatted correctly for us. We need it to show as currencies. So you can either come here and go to value field settings, or right here you can right click and go to value field settings here. So I want to look at the format. You click on number format, and I want it to be formatted as a currency. So I come to currency. I don't want decimals here, and I click on OK. Then I click on OK, and we have our currencies. Now we have our currencies here. And then one more thing, I want it to sort from smallest to largest, no, largest to smallest. So I want the top performing salesperson to be on top, so largest to smallest. Okay, so now we can see that Nancy Freehofer is our top performing salesperson. So let's just name this sheet sales by rep. You save that. Then let's get our charts. Let's create a chart, so visual out of this. So we can just create a bar chart. Create a bar chart from here. So I want a bar chart here, and there are a few things that we can do to this bar chart to make it look a lot better. First of all, let's get rid of this this here and this here. We don't need it, and because we can do this filtering from here, and eventually we are going to add slicers that will help us achieve these filters. So to get rid of this, you just click on it and go on hide the field buttons. on the chart, or you can just click on hide all and it's going to get rid of all of them. You can also get rid of this here. I don't want to see this here. So we have a better looking chart. So then one more thing, I want to reverse the order of this. So I want the highest selling salesperson to be on top. So if you right click on this, go to format axis, you have this here. Then on the axis option, on this, open this tab here. Then on the axis position here, you look at this where you have categories in reverse order. You check that, so it reverses the order of the categories for us. So you see we have Nancy Freehafer at the top, and then it flows down to Jan Krotas, which is the last person. Then I want to get rid of these grid lines. I don't really want these grid lines. It's not really good for me, so I can just click on it and press delete, and it gets rid of it for us. Then another thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this here. So I don't want this to be at the top here because it's not really good for from a visualization standpoint. So I can get rid of that also. So we see that our chart is beginning to look a lot better. Then I want to add some labels to this chart so that we can know what this bar represents. So to do that, I can just click on this plus sign here, and then you put data labels there. So I check that we have data labels there, and that works. But let me reduce the width of the bars so that I don't want my data labels. Remember, as I did it this way, it was encroaching into the numbers, so I didn't want that, so we had to reduce it. So I think this looks pretty decent. But one more thing, I want to increase the size of these bars. These bars look too tiny for me. So you come to the format data points, and then you go to gap width. So instead of if you just increase the width between the gap, the bars, you will have smaller, longer, you will have smaller looking bars. So I want to reduce the width so that I can have a little bit larger looking bars. So I think this is fine. Let me just say a little bit more. I think this is okay. This looks pretty decent. So okay, so we have something that looks good here. You can decide to change the colors of the bars if you want to. I'm not going to look into that now. So let's make this, name this sales by rep, sales by rep, and we have a good looking chart here. So if you decide to put a filter in your data, let's say region, and then you start filtering by certain region, you see that it is responsive, and we have the corresponding value for the sales that happened by different reps in that region. So next, let's go ahead and create look at our sales by categories. So we have different regions. We have our products have different categories. So we want to see what category of products are selling a lot more. If you look at the raw data where you have categories, we can see them here. So we have product categories where we have beverage, dried fruits, baked goods, and all that. So we want to see which categories are our higher selling categories. We'll see which of our reps are performing more. Nancy seems to be doing the best work here. So let us look at what category of sales is what category of products are we selling the most. So to do that, instead of creating a new sheet, I will just go ahead and duplicate this sheet here. So I want to create a copy and move to the end and press OK, and I have something here. So I did that because I want to maintain this formatting that I have here. I want to maintain the formatting I have here. So all I'll just do is edit the pivot table. So I want to get rid of the salesperson, and I want to look at it by category. So I'll just go to my category and then put it in there. And now we have our category. But it's not looking too nice. We need to sort it so that we can have the highest selling category at the top, and it flows down as it should. So of course you can just sort, click on it and sort by largest to smallest, and we have it formatted correctly. Let's add data labels here and see where the money is coming in from. So we have this here, which is good for us. Okay, so it all looks pretty nice. Let's increase the size of this so that you can see it better. So we see that beverages is where a lot of our sales are coming from. Let me rename this sales by categories. So I also need to rename this here sales by categories. And okay, so you see that we're beginning to already draw some insights out of this data. We can already see that, okay, our top selling category is our beverages. You can see that over 50% of our revenue comes from just these three categories. If you look at it, comes from just these three categories, and some other categories we don't really have a lot of sales happening. So one thing I'd like to point out is we have a couple of categories here, 1, 2, up to about 14 of them. So, but I'm only interested. So we're only interested in the top 10 categories or top 8 categories. What do? We don't want to see all this, like for example grains and all that. We're not really interested in all that. We want to see what the top 8 categories or the top 10 categories that are contributing the most to our revenue. So to do that, you come here and you click on this, you go to value filters, and then there are a couple of things you can do here. You can do equals to, not equals to, greater than, less than, in between, not between. So in this case, I want to see a top 10. So I want to see a top 10. You can also decide to say a bottom 10. You can increase what you want to see. Top 10 what items by what the sum of revenue, which is what we have on our pivot table. So to do, once you do that, click on OK, and we have it formatted correctly for us. We have beverages and up to baked goods, and we see all the other categories. Let's change this to top 10. Top 10. So let's just change to top 10. Shut up. Or make it those by categories and just put top 10 there. So top 10. Okay. So we have this and it looks really nice. We can go ahead and add a few more fields if we want to. Let's say for this revenue now, let's say I want to look at the unit price for every, you see that we have unit price for every category of item here, even though there are different prices for different items in this category. So we could decide that we don't want to see the unit price for this. So the different things we can do here, but let's just pay attention to the chart that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this also, like we did before. So another way to duplicate, instead of doing the right click and going through all that, you can just do the left click, drag, and hold the control key, and then when we press enter, we see that we have it duplicated for us. So I just want to show you a few calculations that we can do here with our pivot charts, our pivot table. So let me just name these calculations so that we don't get twisted. So now let us let's see. So we have our sales by different categories here. So let's say we want to see what was the count of. Okay, let me clear this value filter. You know, remember this is showing us top 10, but let's say I want to see everything. Let me clear it so that we can do more examples with that. Now, a few calculations we can do. Let's look at our from the fields list. Get rid of this. So let's look at our pivot table, and here we have the sum of revenue that we've already done. So let's say we want to look at the units sold, so or the unit price of each product. So we can drag that to the values pane here, and once we click that, we have sum of unit price. But this is not very useful to us because we want to see there are different products inside this category. So you cannot just get the sum of unit price, because the sum of unit price is actually referring to the prices of all the products in that category. So different products have different prices. So instead of looking at the sum, let's try to do another aggregation, which is the average. So to do that, you can either come here and click here and go to the value field settings, or you can come here and do it straight from here. So let's use this other option because I've used the first option before. So once you click on that, I want to see the average, and let's format. Okay, the number is formatted correctly. Now let's format it to show as an amount, currency. So I don't need. Okay, can have decimals because it's an average. So I want to see the average of unit price, and then so this is what we have here. We see that in our beverages category, the average unit price for any go in that category is $22. So let's what if we want to look at the quantity that is being ordered. So can also drag that here, and the sum of quantity, we can see that for this particular category we have 763 orders, compared to some other smaller ones that we have here. So you can begin to see the insights we are drawing out of this already. So we have our revenue, and then we have some other categories. You can see that there are some categories where we made more money from, though that doesn't necessarily mean there were more orders from them. For example, this baked goods that we had 331 orders, the revenue that came from there is 3,100, compared to these guys that we did 170, which is almost double of what this is. We had $5,000 dollars as revenue. So let's say we want to look at, we've looked at the quantity per category. So for each category of item, so let's say in the beverage, let's say I get a tin of milk. So that is probably under a subcategories of milk products. So if I'm getting a tin of milk, I can order in a particular order. I can get like 50 quantities for one order. Okay, so now I don't want to look at number of quantities. Now I want to just look at number of orders that were made. So an order can be a bulk order. So one order can be, let's say, 30 tins of milk. So let me let's look at that again, looking at the quantity again, and then let us change this, use the value field settings, and then we want to change this to a count of quantity. And so we can see that we have 14 orders for the categories, for product category in beverages. We had 14 orders that match that category. So, but there's one thing that is looking not so okay. If you can look at the data, this pivot table, and tell me if you notice anything odd. If you look here, you see that we have the blank here, but we have, of course, no revenue and anything, but we have 8 orders from blank sheet. Now, obviously, if I present this to my manager, there's going to be questions. Okay, what happened here? How do we have 8 orders for a blank product category? Let's see what happens in our actual data. So let's go and look at that. So for product category, let us filter this and just look at the blanks alone so that we can know what exactly is happening there. So we can see here that there was actually no orders there, but we have something, we have shipping fees that apply to these orders. So there's going to be some kind of explanation for this. Now we'll have to check in with these salespersons to know, okay, what happened. Was it was there was there something that they needed to send to this particular customers that was not sent before? Was it some kind of refund or some kind of return? So whatever it is, we'll need to find out from them. So as the analyst, you need to be able to notice these things. You don't want to get caught unawares when you're trying to do your presentation. So for this, we'll just let's just put this in a category of shipping fees. So I'm going to select this range that we have here. Let me update it, and then you press a keyboard shortcut Alt and the semicolon for you to select the visible cells. And I'm going to just type shipping fee in there, shipping fee. And if I press Control Enter, it updates. Okay, it updates it. I didn't put a shipping fee. I mean shipping fee there, and I press Control Enter, and we have shipping fee all around. So let me just clear this filter here, and let us come back to our calculations. And if we refresh this, we see that we have our shipping fee that has been updated here. Okay, so now we can see that we have our shipping fee, and it shows us what we are looking for. So one more calculation I would like to show is now we have, let me just do a duplicate of this here. So drag and press Enter and drop it. We have it duplicated here. I want to get rid of this. Let me get rid of all of this average, it, quantities. Okay, so now we have our revenue here, right? So now I want to see, okay, this are the figures, but what if I want to look at this as a percentage of our total? So there's an awesome way for you to get this done in your pivot tables. To do that, I will just drag the revenue column there again to our values section, and then you go to your value field setting like I have shown you before. Come here, value field setting, and I want to look at this values as. So you come to show value as here. Now when you click on show value as, there's no calculation happening here, but I want to look at it as a percentage of the grand total. So if I do percentage of the grand total and I click on OK, immediately you see that I have each value, each revenue is showing me here as a percentage of the grand total, which is this. So already without thinking so much, I can see that these three revenues, these three product categories, the revenue generated from them, or let's say these four, is about 60%. It's about 63. If you look here, it's about 63.44% of our total revenue. So that's already giving us an idea of what is a better performing aspect of our sales. We can decide to do this by salesperson. Let's get rid of this calculation and let's come to the salesperson here. So let's look at the salesperson here. So we see for the salesperson we have 24% of our sales are coming from Fletcher. But let's still look at it as per categories, and I want to show you something here. So let us get rid of this here. Okay, now I want to look at our revenue, obviously, but I want to drag the salesperson column to this column field here. So let us, instead of shade, let's format this value as percentage of grand total. Let's okay this. Now this looks a lot better. So looking at this now, you can see that for each product category, you can immediately, let's sort this from largest to smallest. Sort by largest to smallest. Yeah. So now you can see for our different categories, these are our salespeople, and you can see what percentage each salesperson bringing into our total. So this person brings 17. Our highest person is Nancy, and you can see that when Nancy did, what makes up the most of Nancy's sales is in beverages. If you check out this person, which is Andrew, see that the person has no sales from beverages, but dried fruits and nuts is the person's a better selling point, better selling category. If you check out this guy, see that he's his condiments, or has his condiments, Laura Giussiani. If you check out Michael Napier, see that here's his dried fruits and nuts, and then some other people that are not doing so well, like this person. His highest selling category is fruits and vegetables. So you can see that there are a couple of calculations you can do here. We're already drawing some really awesome insights from our data. So now you know that this information that we have here, these are all sales information for 2014, you know. So we have, this is December 2014. So now let's assume that there's new data coming in, and we're now in January 2015. Get rid of this. We're now in January 2015. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy the information here and add it to this table for January 2015. So I've gone ahead to add the sales information for January. So we have it on this sheet here. This is everything that occurred in January. So what I will do is I want to add this to my data here. So what I want to do is just copy the data and come to the end of this data, which is the end of our December transaction, and just add it there. So to do that, I come to our January sheet, hold, press Ctrl Shift and End here, because I select the first cell with the values. I don't need to get the headers because we're putting it in the same headers that exist on the other sheet. So I press Ctrl Shift and End, and it selects the entire range of table for me. So I press Ctrl C, and then I come to my data and just press enter, and we have it copied down here for me. So you can see that we have it copied down here for me. So now our data has been updated. We have 2015 information, but if we go and look at our sales info, for example, come and look here, we see that this our revenue did not increase, it remained the same. So for us to, and that's because this pivot table, the data source that this pivot table is using, it still stops at where 2014 data stopped. So for us to change it, let us come to our pivot table, and then come to the pivot table tools, and in the analyze tab, and then we need to change the data source setting. Now if you just refresh, it's going to refresh based on the range that you still selected. So but I want to change my data source settings. So once I click on data source, it comes to the table which I had already selected, but you can notice here that it stopped here, which is where our table stopped initially at row 68. So I wanted to get to row 83. So you can go ahead and just type 83 here for your pivot table, or there's a shorter way to get this done. If you just click on any table on the ring and press Ctrl A, it selects everything, every row and column, with data in it within the range of this table. So I've done that, and I click on OK, and then you can see that this has immediately been updated. Before we had 60,000 something here, before we had 17,000 something here, but now it has been updated to 78,000 there, 78,000 there. Let me see if this is also having that same issue. Okay, this also has the same issue. So if we, for every single one, you need to just make sure any pivot table you had already created initially, you need to update it with the new data source information, so that it shows you the current sales. So now we have, these are sales figure, include January sales. So you can see that everybody, let me check out the highest selling market tabs, the highest selling. Okay, you see last month we had Nancy Freehalfer as of December, but when we came into January, Andrew Chesini has overtaken her, or him, her. Andrew has overtaken her. So you see that there was actually a change when we made this update. So now there are other instances where you might want to create. It's not every time you want to make your create your pivot tables and your pivot charts that you will be working with Excel files. Sometimes the files might be in some other formats, and you need to pull it into the Excel of your workbook. Sometimes it might be still an Excel file, but in a different location, and you're already working in this workbook, and you need to get data from that workbook. You wouldn't need to go and start copying the data, into the workbook. There are other ways that you can extract the data. So we're going to look at that. And then there are instances where so far everything we've been working with, one table. So, but what if you have an instance where you have different tables with different information in each of them, and you want to create some kind of link to them so that you can work with all the tables as one. So for you to do that, you need to create some kind of relationship between them. And that's where we're going to, that's when you start talking about what we call the Excel data model. So in the next video, we're going to explain that a little bit in detail. So, but try your hands and try to make a few more reports from this. We have sales by categories that we did. We have sales by, created another one, sales by category, top 10. We did by salespersons also here, but we have messed it up because we added other things to it. So try to create some more. Maybe you can look at by city. You can decide to do it by state. You can decide to do your sales by region, or quantity sale by region. You can decide to do it by payments type, or whatever is required, basically whatever is required. So you can make more reports based on that. So in the next, I'll see you in the next video where we're going to talk about other ways that you could work with pivot charts, and then we'll try to get our hands working with a dashboard. I'll see you in the next one.